Do 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 do. Can you see me? Bear with me while I just pull up the stream. There I am. There's a me. It is me. Doot doot, says Jamie. Can everyone hear me okay? Wow. This is the first time in weeks. Amazing. Oh, wow. Cool. Tap Jars, hello. Mr. Casey Jones, hello. It's happening. You can finally hear my lovely voice. Okay, hello. This is part 2 of the new instrument showcase. I do have an actual voice. Thank you for having me. It's my first stream solo, so I'll do my best to read everything in the chat as I go. Tom Dent will also be in the chat if you have any questions. If you tuned in last week, you'll know Ed and I have been working hard on organising and polishing our instrument library. So last week, Ed made a pretty incredible recreation of the composition Jupiter to show what is possible with the new orchestral instruments. So I'll be showing something similar for the rest of the collection. You're going to read this. I am, and I did. You foretold this. So from my own first-hand experience, the new layout of collections feels much more sensible. You can get the exact instrument you want with tonal variants nearby, which really eases the flow of creativity. And I'm sure we can all relate to how important staying in the flow is when inspiration hits. So anything that sort of massages and smooths that process, I think is invaluable. So alongside organising and polishing what we already have, we've also been creating new instruments. So to kick things off, I've created this slightly bizarre river of timelines, showcasing some of what is possible with the newly created instruments. So these were mainly created to sort of help me figure out what gaps we had in our collections. And this isn't going to be the last update, of course, so we'll continue this on into the future. Sorry, just catching up on the comments. Pasta forever. Yeah, I'm lost in this chat. Oh, I miss Oli's Echo too. It's took a long while to sort that out. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So here's just a quick showcase, a few little loops I've made. Also, I'm not very good at naming tracks. I think of the first thing I can think of within 2 seconds of finishing the track. So the first demo here is a sort of funky bass thing. This sort of track is good for arcadey style games because it's not too full sounding but still drives the energy of the gameplay. In here is some of the new drum kits. If you can see here, DIY kit, some new pads and keys and stuff like that. My hope was to create some source samples that give the sound enough character in its own right to be interesting to listen to. So there's only like 7 layers here, and some of them are just doubled up. Anyway, I'll stop talking about it. So these are all completely new. And I'll do a breakdown of all the new ones afterwards, so you can hear them in a bit more depth. I really like this instrument here, called DIY Kit, which I made by literally just sampling things around my house. So a lot of this is just me hitting pans of water in my kitchen. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Onwards on this strange, ethereal island of timelines. That secret weapon though, yeah, there's more to it, hence the name. I'll show you shortly. I'm not a great architect. There we go, perfect. Now we can float over the bridge. Okay, so this one here, this is a showcase of something a bit airier. There's like ethereal sounding instruments in it that are really useful to fill out the frequency spectrum. So if I put that in layman terms, it's kind of, it's good to have these sounds as sort of glue to your music to make it feel more cohesive. So I'll play that for you. Boop. So if you sort of tune your ears to the higher frequency sounds there, I'll solo them. We've got this sort of glistening layer and this pad here. And I find that sort of making music in this way of thinking of spaces in the spectrum to fill out is a really good way to get professional sounding results. So if I mute those and you hear it without, it'll feel a little bit emptier and less cohesive. It's fine, but it's just a bit boring. That's very pretty. Oh, thank you. I hope you're listening on big speakers. I have this giant speaker here. These speakers are way too big for my room, but it's fine. I love them. You get the idea. Cool, airy sounds. Alright, let's hop back over the bridge. So, in this little loop here, we've got some sort of funky Juno 80s bass synth sort of sound. I know Juno is like, it's an old vintage synthesizer, which sort of characterized the 80s. Which is this one here, Funk Grenade, which is fitting in my naming schemes. Also, we have a very simple synth called Kinetic Sawtooth. And I think it's really important in electronic music to get basic waveforms sounding good in their own right. So I've given this a lot of my attention when updating the library. So for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, sound comes in various shapes of waves as we hear it. It's never usually as clean as a sawtooth. But one of the basic shapes is a sawtooth in electronic music synthesis, which has quite a sort of buzzy characteristic. So if I show you what this sounds like on its own, I'll turn that on. Oh, it doesn't actually sound that buzzy there because I've filtered all the top end off. So if I take this off. So there you can sort of hear the buzziness and ringiness I'm talking about. So my point is really that getting these core sounds sounding good in an instrument library is going to mean that when you take them further and change them and tweak them, that the end result is going to be better. It's like, I like the analogy of cooking where you need good ingredients and good like spices to make a good meal. Kind of cringe, but you know what I mean. I'll play it for you anyway. That one is called Cuthbert's New Groove. In fact, I think I named an effect field after Cuthbert. Yeah. I did. I foreshadowed this. Amazing. Sorry, I just catched up on the chat. You get the idea. Funky Cuthbert business. Ah, yes, the cooking analogy. Yeah, no, Lisa knows what I'm talking about. I think everyone had the same lecturer. Moving on. Drum and bass track. So, I'm reading from my notes, by the way, in case I forget what to say. So for this next track, I've included a bunch of new drum break instruments. These were put together by the brilliant Adam Hay, who laid the foundation for all our synths in the collection. So chances are, if you've used any instrument or any synth or any bass in our collection, you've used some of Adam Hay's work. Yeah, which is incredible. I've also added some of the new bass synth instruments I've created myself that really lend themselves to drum and bass, which I just see all through the Dreamiverse. Sorry about my squeaky chair, by the way. So like, whenever I browse the Dreamiverse for music, there's always like someone that's released some drum and bass. It's amazing what you can do with the toolset. I think it particularly lends itself to the genre because it's very loop-based, and we have a great sort of drum programmer. It goes a bit silly at the end, but here we go. What is the perfect D&B tempo? That. This isn't drum and bass, this 7-bit. I ran away with it a little bit. My very short attention span. Oh, I'm glad you like it. That's very kind. What have we got next? This track that I don't think I've named. I've just put nice. Good enough. Oh, before I get into this, this is just a cool little tip. If you want to present like your work to people, you're making remixable music in the Dreamiverse, you can take the playhead position and use it to drive loads of elements. So what I've done here, sort of tangential to what I'm showing, but you get what I mean, is I've got a light that's pointing towards where the playhead is. And you see it follows it as it goes throughout the track. I just thought it was cool. So this is a little bit of a longer, more realized track. I made this completely 100% with the new instruments from the collection, which was super fun to make. Proved to me that the new editions span across all areas of our collection and sounded sort of cohesive with each other, like they made sense. And also, I'm sorry, Lisa, but it has your voice in it. Oh, it's time for the dramatic pan. It's not the end. I just felt like putting that. But yeah, this is the sort of showcases I put together for the instruments. Yeah, so let's just get into it. Similar to how Ed went through the strings library and everything. Here we go. Oh, hello. I've been doing some diving already. Let's start with drums. Keyboards, very close. Drums. So yeah, the first thing you'll notice that we went over last week was we have a brand new layout for everything in the collection. Things are separated out into more usable sub-collections. I personally, I can't go back. I think this is so much better, and I hope you will like it too. So here we have a completely new layout for tell us what's new, Ollie. What is new? Loads of loads of new things. Hang on, let me catch up on the chat. I realise I've just been rambling on without paying attention to people. Don't let Ed peer pressure you. It's too late. He's peer pressured me on stream. So anyway, I'm going to carry on. It's the drum kits here. As you can see, it's a brand new layout. To the left, we have these detail kits. Which was made by Todd Baker, and they're incredible. You can achieve any sort of drum sound you want throughout all of these. And what I mean by detail kits is that we have the full kit here. So say we have modern punch drum or vintage lo-fi, which caters to a whole genre of the Dreamverse, which is brilliant. Say I did a really little simple drum beat. Oh, gotta turn this one off. Whoopsie. There we go. Let's do a really simple drum beat. I'll show you what I mean. Beautiful. I am Mozart. There we go. So if I put this our timeline so we can see it a bit better. And we take a look at the slices in here. I mean, this is great to use as a full kit, just like that. So we have variations of each hit, just subtle changes to make it sound more real and not robotic. But what's great about the detail kits is that, say you want a particular bass drum sound. Let's have a look. Here we go. So the kick. Let's duplicate this so I have the same pattern, and then take out everything that isn't the bass drum. There we go. Oh, quick tip for people if they don't know: hold L1 and then drag upwards like that to multi-select loads. Anyway, so I'll drag this over the top. It's such a sad drum loop. So yeah, I'll show you. Here we have a few layers of different. You can tell that's a little bit softer. That's much softer. So instead of artificially recreating the different like velocities that you hit the drum kit, there's actually different recordings here, which is much. It's way more true. It will sound better at the end result. Because our ears are weirdly sensitive to detecting if something's robotic or if it's human. So there's a much harder variant. You catch my drift. So let's go through those so you get an idea of what they are. So obviously we have the modern punch drum kit. I find myself cherry picking out of these, which Todd will probably hate because they sound brilliant together. But there's like so many one hits in here that are just wonderful to use, especially in the details. So vintage lo-fi drum kit, super cool. Oh, we have different characteristics here. So yeah, so we have like dampening, looser. So you get a little bit more roominess there. There it's a little bit more sort of short and sharp. What else do we have? Tube crunch. Crunchy. Pitch up. And I like the way he's used effect fields here too, because they're subtle enough that you can't tell it's been heavily changed by the effect fields. That's just instantly so cool. I wanted to highlight, I think it's in here, let me find it, the snares. It's a really nice sort of, yeah, the rim shot sound there is brilliant. I think I prefer using rim shots for snares than snares, but that's whatever. Some really great stuff in there. What else we got? Vintage dry drum kit. Sorry, just catching up on the chat. Lo-fi beats to dream to, yeah. Vintage drum kit. Another really nice one. They're all so tight, it's amazing. Now, for people going for a more natural sound, because I usually just gravitate straight to electronic music and crazy drums where it's like a water splash. But these are really authentic, so hats off to Todd for these. I'm not the best DS4 drummer in the world. I do a lot of this in post. Big studio drum kit. Yeah. Sorry, just catching up on the chat. I was thinking... music. I haven't mastered the art yet of being able to read with my right eye and talk at the same time. Tape trash. Yeah, that's really nice. So I'm pretty sure that's emulating the sound of a tape recorded drum kit. And a tape sort of has in its signal flow most of the time, just it adds layers of sort of harmonic distortion. Anyway, enough of me poorly playing drums. But yeah, you should check them out for yourselves. They're really fun. You can get a really, really cohesive, real sounding drum kit out of all these kits. So next we have Adam's Breaks. Adam Hay, who I mentioned earlier, of course, has recreated a lot of sort of famous drum breaks. And, oh, these previews here are done by Ed, and then like in themselves, they're good enough to be tracks. I'll just play them quick. So Adam's done a really awesome job of sort of emulating the sort of sampled from vinyl drum and bass jungle era sort of music within these instruments. Let's have a quick listen to that. These are awesome. I mean, whole genres have, as people probably know in the chat, whole genres have emerged from sampled drum breaks. And we have, I think, 5 really, really useful ones. Because I've seen people sort of trying to recreate this sound with the acoustic fusion kit and a few others, which are great kits in their own right. But these are way more catered to sort of electronic music genres that take that sampled idea and run with it. I missed one a little bit there. I think instead of just trying to record performances, I'll just show you what they sound like. Moving swiftly on. Right, hammer the X button out of time more. Aim break is so last century anyway. No, it's still going strong. I want to believe. I love the pyro break. This is awesome. It's just so like crisp and short as well, which I really like for a drum sound. I mean, sometimes it's great to have big, loose, wide sounding drums, but for my personal style, I really like them being short and snappy because they just punch through a mix really easily. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, let's take a drum loop we have already. Let's see what this sounds like if we just throw it on top of it. We'll do it on the timeline. Sorry, I'll just see if anyone has any questions. I'm just as hyped about this as I am VR. Me too. It was so fun to make these, and it's really quite special giving the community new instruments because you just don't know what they're going to make with it. It's always something that blows your expectations out of the water. Like you all keep us very sharp, which is great. I'd offer to rap for you, but the Dreamiverse would explode in terror. No, it's official. We've got an Lisa rap on the way. No, I want to make 1,000,000 songs. Me too. Right, let's drag this on top. These are just so fun. I could play with them all day. That preview Ed made of this one. So good. So I think some of these might need rearranging because I think they were in that music clip designed around short hi-hats, and some of these are on the ride cymbal. So you just play around with it. It's good to use these music clips as a starting point sometime to get a sort of feel of what the drum kit is. So that's nice and short. That's probably the one that's making it sound a bit funny. Yeah, see, that's a little bit more sensible. Yeah, so to respond to what you said, tap jars. Kit's specially made for that pattern. Yeah, I mean, we kind of follow a rough framework, but it's always just best to use your ears. Like, we're not too rigid about it. Contemplate's awesome. Sorry if I'm skipping through these a little bit fast. Just tell me if you want me to give something a little bit more attention. Are you going to make an impromptu beat with that new stuff? Yes, definitely. I want to show all the new things first. And if we have time at the end, I can just noodle around it until they pull the plug on me. Oh yeah, this is the kit I was talking about earlier. Sorry to move on for the breaks. You get the idea. They're brilliant. Let's stay there. There we go. All right. Yeah, so this one sort of in line with what you were saying, Tap, which is like, do we have specific like patterns for each instrument? This one, I kind of threw that out of the window a little bit deliberately. So when you play the drums on here, you end up getting almost random samples that you wouldn't otherwise think to use as a hi-hat, because it's sort of in line with why I made the kit. So I'll just show you what I mean. This is stuff that I've just gone around my house and recorded. So and I've also put a bunch of different samples on spiciness, which is when you hold L2. So let's record that in. Let's do it like, yeah, that's fine. Just do a little loop so I don't get too carried away. I put a really bassy muffled kick drum that I used by just like, I was just hitting my fridge door with a little mallet thing, and I ended up getting a really nice kick drum out of it. I did some stuff to it afterwards to make it sound a little bit cleaner, but you get the idea. Oh, dropped a beat there. I'm going to turn off this ambience that's getting in the way. Luckily, I remembered that I put it under the bridge. The best place for all ambience. There we go. Yeah, so the sort of idea behind the DIY kit is that like using the PlayStation microphone, you can actually get so much out of it. It's a really good microphone. It always surprises me. So don't be afraid to just record in like your hand claps or finger clicks. Yeah, just the only limit is your imagination with this stuff, as cheesy as that sounds. But you can really get a lot out of a little. So if I get rid of that. What else we got? Oh, we have some really great new previews here. I don't know how Ed does it. He has like the Midas touch. Because I didn't realize I didn't actually use a lot of these kits that thoroughly, because the previews were sort of putting me off, and not to say they were bad, but I just didn't feel like they fit the purpose that they actually do. Like now you know exactly what you're looking for when you listen to the previews, which is invaluable when you're browsing. So this is a new one I put together. This is this is synthesized entirely, this drum kit. So it's made out of FM synthesis, which is it's kind of like a very pure form of synthesis where you add a lot of sine waves together, which are very clean tones, to create something new. And I went a little bit crazy with effects to see how much I could get out of it. Let's record something in with that so you get an idea for it. I did this nice grainy effect called uh-oh. Because whenever you play a note into it, it goes really weird. It's great for effects. All right. You can get some really alien sounds out of this. Yeah, let's record that in. Just catch up on the chat. Glitch kit, yeah. I mean, that would have been a better way to describe it. It is. It's just glitchy, synthesized sounds that I put together. And what's fun is that the kick is so... I mean, the bass drum is so odd that you can actually get bass lines out of it. Ah, yeah, this is cool. So this... You broke it. I keep forgetting how I name these things. It makes me laugh. I'm my own #1 fan. So what I've done here is like change the grains so they look like this. And it kind of has the effect of being downsampled. So in layman's terms, it's like a sort of lower quality version, but not the same as being distorted. So what that really achieves is that it recreates that kind of gargling sound you hear in a lot of old dubstep. So if I play the kick drum like that and I slowly go into it, it kind of sounds like someone saying "er," which, you know, is very important for all music libraries. Yeah, that's not a new sampler or anything. And it's, you know, you can take that effect field and, you know, put it on your own tracks and see what you can get out of it. Yeah, you get the idea. Neat bit. I can't remember what I called it that. Anyway, moving on. Got nice new previews here. It's so ravey. It's amazing to think that was a beatbox. And obviously we have more drum kits in here, so nothing's lost. It's just good to highlight the new stuff here. And how we're organizing this is an ongoing thing, so. You've heard these ones before. Oh, this is really cool, actually. We'll probably move this in the collection. This is one of Lisa's. It's great. It's so good for effects. I think that's a really good point to make, is that with this instrument update, you don't have to narrow your sort of usage of it to just making music, because I've actually created a lot of the bass lines for this update with the idea that I wanted cool sub layers to add to sound design, like, I don't know, like you have like a blaster or something and you want like a cool lasery sound. You can definitely use the instruments if you just modify them a little bit. And practically speaking, if you just set them to a sound effect, they'll act as a sound effect and you just tune it to where you want it to be. You might have to mess around with the slices because there might be different slices in there. Anyway, just making sure I'm not ignoring everyone. I imagine Ollie's fridge is like the one in Ghostbusters. Yeah, it is. It really is. Okay, that's drums. What next? Let's go synths. So I think I probably spent most of my time on synths, mainly because there was a lot to organize, and I really enjoy it. It's fun. I love synthesis. Yeah, you can get so much out of these new ones. So the rough organization and the way I've laid things out here is variants of the same sort of tonality I've put nearby. So what I mean by that is, like, say you want a plucky sound as your lead line in a track. I've done it in such a way that neighboring ones could all sort of fit that criteria. It's one of those things that's hard to like quantify, but I think just using it for a short while, you understand the benefit of that, because it might, the first sound you pick might not be the one that's best suited for the sound you're going for. So yeah, let's go over these previews so I can show you some new stuff. Got Rose Pad. These are all the new ones I've put up here for now, because I haven't organized these properly yet, but the rest are all organized. So let's dive into them as I go. Why not? It's called Rose Pad. Yes, that was me. For obvious reasons. Which is a nice clean sine wavy pad, and it's sort of detuned so it pans around your ears left and right. So using this as a pad in your music sort of is a nice sort of cheap way to fill out the stereo width of your spectrum, which a lot of people in music production like to keep their bass and certain elements quite mono, but for this particular sound it works with quite low notes, and I think you get away with it being quite wide. It just depends on how you want to balance your mix. Here comes the sun. We have to do it. We'll travel to the sun. Oh. Or should we go? Let's go E major. That's fine. We're nearly there. Oh, how enlightening. And I've burnt my imp. And I added a bunch of effects in here. These aren't just for visual effect. There was actually so many effect fields I wanted to add to this. I was like, I have to draw something with these to make it make sense. So we got down here, you get the sort of toy box sound. And that's using the grain parameters. If I go up, get something a little bit more muffled. Woo! And then you finally get to the top. Ah, beautiful flower, very pretty. That sums up Rose Pad. Next one. Is this how a rose sounds when it's growing? Yes, actually, I sampled the sound of a rose growing. It took me many months, but I sped it up, and here we are. Mineral Pad. This is part of my naming scheme of what shall I call this within 5 seconds of thinking about it. So I made this. This is kind of a texture-led pad. So I wanted to add lots of sort of details and intricacies that when you play it just with a single note, you get a lot of different sounds happening at once, which is again is a sort of quick way to add more detail to your songs. So if I play a few notes, you can hear that sort of watery sounding panned effect. Which I've set mostly to random because it's achieved with the source sound I used, and mixed in with the granular controls. So every time you press a note, you should get something a little bit different. Yeah, so that's a cool one. What we got next? Tune pad. I seem to have I have some obsession with the sun when I was doing this. You get the idea. You got water, coral, and sand. Ah, what a lovely picture that paints. And I've done these big overlapping effect fields here so that perform view, sort of every space on it controls the character of the sound, which I like that because you pick up more intricacies of the performance than if you just had, say, just this effect field here. Add spice. So I'm pretty sure the spice for this one, if I'm correct, yeah, it's changing the grains. So you hear it goes quite fluttery and fast here. I've done it so you slow down the grains. Which is nice, just so you can get that little extra element of control in here. It's very early 2000s trance. What we got? Glacial pad. New version. Why not? It's new. Wind. Cloud. I apologize in advance for these. I had a little bit too much fun doing them. So this is another one of those sounds that is used to fill out the sort of top end of the mix. I can't stress enough how important it is and sort of how it's changed the way I make music, that if you cater your instruments towards each layer in the spectrum, you end up with something that sounds full without sort of conflicting sounds and sounding muddy and all that. So as you can see, I rolled off the low end, so this is where like drums and bass and everything would exist. And this can just sit on the top of all of that. What have we got? Never apologize for having fun. Fun is not allowed. Fun is now banned. Memory pad. I called this memory pad. This is more about me telling people why I've named the instruments than showing them. But I feel like I should. I've called this memory pad because it actually reminded me of the old PlayStation boot up sounds and this kind of big sparseness and like richness that I tried to recreate in this. So. Which is like, I think this is one of my favorite, like having used them for a little while, because you can throw this in any genre and any mix and it seems to just glue everything together nicely. This makes me want to save my game. Top comment. Taurus pad. Yeah, this is space themed. Hooray. Shout out to Pablo. He loves space. And this is a very extreme example of filling out the spectrum, but it's just the highest of high end. So this can sit on the top of something very easily. I'll throw something together just to show what I mean instead of sort of saying it. Might as well show you. So you might notice actually, when the note stops playing, you get this little psh sound. So I've sort of simulated aftertouch, which some music tech people would probably understand here, by reversing the filter. So when the filter is off, it actually opens back up again, or vice versa, you know what I mean? And there's definitely something you can take into creating your own instruments or modifying existing ones. So if I had some more layers here, let's chuck this down here, because it works. This one works in the high end and the low end, so a bit spiky. I've had some drums as well while I'm at it. Where's the watery one? There it is. I should know I made it. Take out that. That was the wrong note. There it is. I add a little bit more in the low end, because right now I've got drums which sort of, they punch around all around the spectrum, but mostly in the low end, sort of 100, 200 hertz, but you don't need to know that. This is sort of in the mids at the moment. This is in the highs. If you just change the volume so they each have a little bit of space. I'll add some bass as well, which we'll get into properly soon. Am I rambling a bit? How are we for time? I think we're good. I'll just add some simple sub. That's not the notes I wanted. So yeah, that was mainly just to illustrate my point that that Taurus pad there can be heard, even though I've added 3 layers of sort of sounds that want to be heard in the mix. It's still sat on top of all of them. So this general idea was applied throughout the whole instrument update. Let's catch up on the chat. Fridge wave. Please keep making it. Oh, okay, well, I'll rattle through the next instruments that we have to show, and then I'll just noodle around if people seem to like that. Oh no. Always charge your controller, kids. Oh. Smart. Right. Where was I? I was lost in a tangent. Oh yeah, I was in synths. Glacier pad, Taurus pad. Yeah. So these are a lot of the new ones. We have a lot of the classic ones. They've had they've been tidied up. And actually, this is another thing worth noting. We've actually changed the volume of a lot of the instruments in the collection. So they should come in less loud than they did before, making it easier to mix, which a lot of the time people making music, they immediately want to jump in and be like, I want this to be the loudest sound. I want this to be the loudest sound. But it's really hard for one thing to have emphasis when everything's trying to be loud. So what we've done is roughly brought everything down to a similar sort of volume, making mixing a lot easier. So I'm sure there's a few offenders here. And they have new previews as well, obviously. And again, these are sort of categorized based on their tonality. Big dystopian 80s synths here. Classic. So these are obviously all the poppy sounds. Oh, this is one I created actually. I think this is a really versatile little instrument. I've called it Glass Cannon for exactly that reason. Like, you can get a lot out of it. So this is another FM instrument, which I explained earlier. And it's got a really pure tone. So you can play high notes and low notes. And you see it sort of became a sub bass then. So really you can make a track just out of these, out of this instrument. Might be a tall order, but let's see. I wonder how much of that was on the beat. Oh, the quantized gods like me today. Apart from that last note, of course. Let me just sort that out. Challenge accepted. Let's try do a little lead thing. The timing at the end was a little bit weird. Let's see what happens with it. Oh, I like it. Quantized gods do like me. So there we have some chords and a lead. Let's add some sub to it. That's just by playing the low notes. And you don't have to twist like this, even though it's great whilst mid-performing. But if you know you want to create a sub-bassy sound, or just play lower notes, you can just change this home octave. Just trying to work out the notes. Oh, let's go even lower, why not? It's a bit funky, and not the good kind of funk, but we can run with it. Tidy that a bit. Let's turn that metronome off. Let's do a kick drum. So I added one of these effect fields here, that two-point punch. Oh, funny me. That's a play on Bubble Punch for all you long-term fans. I think I just distorted it a little bit with the wave folder, which this kind of distortion has a really nice characteristic. Right, it gives it a nice body. Yeah, we can get a kick drum out of that. No problem. Give it a little bit more. might sound a little bit muddled, but let's give it a go. Just needs a bit of filtering to sound correct. I think that might be a little bit too much distortion. I'll turn that down a bit. There we go. Now it's sort of come alive. And we can sidechain it, which I won't go into too much detail, but it basically ducks out the sound every time a certain sound plays. We could probably get a snare out of here too, to be honest. We just need a nice thonk. Take this out. Give it 200 hertz. That's a very, very approximate place in the frequency spectrum where snare drums are. Stop it side chaining. Okay, let's try that. Ooh. Oh. Yeah, I see what I did. I duplicated the clip so it's playing on every note. Let's try that. Bit reverby. Maybe pitch up a bit more. There we go. Let's take that reverb off. Yeah. So there you have it. A very long-winded explanation that you can create a lot with very little if you have the right source material. I'll just turn that off. Okay, I think we need to get through a bit more. I've taken a lot of people's time, so thank you for all being so patient. Been through here. Dusty Keys, this is a new one. For the very reason I named it as well, because literally my synth is sat right there and it's extremely dusty. And I like to think it makes it sound better, but probably not. It's nice. It's a kind of square wavy sound, which a lot of people associate with arcadey music. Yeah. What else we got? Ah, yes, these are more from Adam. I think these were in a collection already, as far as I'm aware, because there was some new Cosmic ones, which I'll get to. They're brilliant. What are we looking for? This is an Ed one. Ed, explain in the chat what your inspiration was with this. It's got a little face. It's so brilliant. Cheap sounding arcade games. I don't think it sounds cheap. It sounds lovely. Amazing. I should probably speed up a little bit. Superb Saw Wave. This is another Adam Hay creation. You have this nice sort of hoovering effect where you detune two sounds in synthesis just by a little bit, and they kind of buzz left and right in your ears. Let's go to the rave. Amazing. Thank you, Adam. That's so good. Areca lead. So I've recently been furnishing my place with a bunch of plants. So me turning to my right and seeing my Areca palm tree, I was like, there we go, name sorted. Super deep and meaningful. But yeah, I went for the sort of future bassy sound that's very popular right now. And I just love the tonality of those sort of synths. It's a very fun one. It's by nature, this instrument, very reso-y. And what I mean by that is like, if you see in the EQ spectrum, when sounds are very prominent at certain frequencies, they sound quite resonant, especially when you sweep through. So it's probably better to show the filter actually. So you hear that sound, it's kind of quite, I don't know, almost juicy and wet. It's like, there's no better descriptor for it. It's quite a like liquidy sounding thing, which characterizes a lot of synths. So that's one of them. And that's another very simple sawtooth that I've played with. Here is one that I use for most things. I was just using it at work, and I thought, you know what, I need to package this up. Wait a minute. The rains are now blessed. What else we got? What's in this magical bag? Mostly just organized ones. Yeah, cool. Let's go on to basses. Sure, I had some interesting notes on basses. Yeah. So to the left we have all the acoustic basses. These have largely stayed the same, although we have now added all the bass guitars to guitars, if they want to show themselves. There we go. Just it's so much easier when you're menu diving and you're creating a guitar composition. And obviously we have more basses here, like the classic ones. So in terms of the new ones, we have, oh yeah, here. So this is a very distorted, sort of gritty sounding bass line. So if what I've done here is I've taken the effect field and I've given it a bit of depth and a ramp. So basically it creates a shape inside the effect field where the parameters are modulated. And what this means is when performing, you can essentially control the sound like this and just go back and forth from the center of an effect field, which is really fun for creating that sort of music. Oh, sorry, I have a cramp in my leg. There we go. What else we got? Funk Grenade, of course. Which I showed earlier in the Cuthbert track. Secret Weapon. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's check this on a track so we can play with it properly. So this is a funny one. It's actually hard to get sounding palatable straight away, but there's so many little tones sort of hidden within this instrument that I think people will be able to run with it and create their own sounds out of it. Sorry, just catch up on the chat. Nice chair. I know, it needs some oil or something. So many references. Alright. Just for an idea of what sort of things you can get out of it. So this is one slice. This is another. It's kind of crazy. It's good for like a, I don't know, dubstep or drum and bass or something like that. Maybe not in Jupiter, but let's do something a little bit spookier. Okay. Let's try that. This is the kind of thing I'll be using as a basis for my weird dream instruments. Great, yeah, please create more out of these. Like, I really wanted there to be as like a lot of depth to these that you can all run with it. Let's throw some drums over it. Now let's do neat bit. A little bit late on that last night. Now let's filter that down while we mess with this. There we go. A cool way to quickly just draw in some hi-hats if you don't want to use the pen tool. You can, you know, if you're not too worried about the performance of it and you just want to play a bunch in sequence, you can just pause the arpeggiator like that and just hold a note. You can try out different sounds whilst doing that. Yeah, so I think I want to do this note. You know what, this would sound cool with a mineral pad actually. Let's throw that in. Sometimes the problem with this pad though is that it's so detailed that when you add multiple notes together it can sound a little crowded. You know, it's just one of the features of it for being quite interesting tonally. I wanted that to be an octave lower. You know what, let's do it again. That'll do. There we go. Let's give this a little bit of a fade in. And that hat is a little bit in your face, so you can just turn it down like that. So if you listen to these individual slices, you'll see what I mean. Don't get too excited. So they sound fairly similar, but then you get to the next few. You get the idea. You know, I might keep this little drum loop actually because it's fun to put bass lines on. What else we got? Underground bass. This lends itself to sort of EDM-y genres, like, I don't know. So I don't really like calling it EDM, but garage and house and stuff like that. It has this sort of ring-modulated bassline sound, which is essentially sending a signal into the sound of the synth, and then the output is then ring modulated. So two synths combined sort of is the way to think about it. And by detuning it a little bit, you hear the differences in the pitch of those synths. So you can hear that it goes woo, 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 like that over a period of time. If I make this shorter, the wobbliness is less. I'll put down spiciness. So what that essentially means is you can make wobbles. So let's try that in the context of this. Don't know if it'll work with these instruments, but let's try it. I like the first bit, but this goes a little bit funky. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Cool. What else have we got in here? Got some nice new previews. Yeah. So this was actually inspired by Bogdan, because he did one of his streams a little while back, where he was showing how you can create vowel formants, and what that essentially is using filtering to recreate the vocal tract. So you can essentially filter sounds to sound almost humanoid. So here I've got like A, I, O, U. If I go back and forth, you can hear that a little bit. That was the general idea with that. I think I may have taken a little bit more time. Is everyone happy to keep going? This is really fun to do. I'm just going to keep streaming. Let me just catch up on everything. Neat Bit Kit would be good on a 5/4 track. Completely. Oh my god, I cannot wait to hear what people do with these. Cool. I'm going to carry on if you're all good. So that's pretty much bases covered. What else have I got on my list of things to get through? Oh yeah, so the other collections mainly at the moment are just a reorganization of everything. Got a better layout for sampled phrases and effects. We're hoping to populate a little bit further. I've added this here called interference effects. If I meet these other two. And basically I found myself a lot of the time when creating tracks wanting to create my own risers and effects. But for that you need like a source material that's quite noisy, like white noise or anything really like a feedback. So I've basically sampled a bunch of my own. which acts as a really good starting point for doing this. And I'll show you what I mean. If I'm going to get rid of these hats. I'm going to keep that kick. And I'm going to put these 4 on the floor. I played myself. There we go. Cool. Actually, I'm going to get rid of the snare as well, or just put it on the beat. Because basically I want to sidechain to show you how this could be used as an effect. Or a riser in this instance. That's a good starting one. So I'll just record in that as a whole note. It will make sense, trust me. You know what, I'm going to get rid of that snare. Filter it a little bit. And I'm going to send that to the sidechain channel A. This already sounds a little bit like something we're going for. Oh, sorry, I'll go back out of here. Go to effect fields. I will pitch that up over a period of time. Oh, if you want to use effect fields in your music, but you don't want them to affect everything in the timeline, you can just put them in a timeline nested within that one, which is a really good way. I do this all the time, and you'll probably see it with some of our tracks. So over time, if I filter that in, maybe add some reverb, and then take out the low end as it gets towards the top. So you can also, you don't have to have that kick drum audible for it to sidechain. So I could just do this, and it's still going to be sending to that channel A. As you can see, it like pretends it's fully like audible. So you can create these risers and design them how you want. And what's cool is once you do all these effects and once you get all your mapping done and everything, you can just change the source material. Big boom, flares, and confetti. There we go. That's what would follow that. So I'm just going to jam for a little bit. I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to. We also have guitars, obviously. Still a bit of a work in progress. Bogdan's gifted us with a solo blaster. And we have a really nice new organized layout, as you expect. This is peak Bogdan, I love it. If I added an extra note. You get the idea. Cool, yeah, I'm just gonna check we're good for time. Right now I'm poking Tom. Cool. Yeah, no, it's fine, we've got plenty of time. I'm just gonna jam then. And this is basically what I've been doing for the last few weeks amongst working on these, is it really is the best way to figure out what you need out of a library by being hands-on with it. Cool. So there's a debate, sort of. No one's writing this, but where should you start when you're writing a track? Should you start with a melody? Should you start with a chord progression? Should you start with a drum beat? My honest opinion is start wherever inspiration takes you. There's no right or wrong in creating music at all. Whatever works for you is perfectly good. So right now I'm sat here like, where should I start? And I think I'll go with a chord progression. Oh wow, that was nice. That's accidentally left on there. I'll take it. So that's a little bit monotonous. But if I do that nesting thing I mentioned earlier. Thank you all for sticking by with this, by the way. This is really great to have an audience doing this. It's very fun. It's usually just my poor neighbors. I'll put some effect fields on it so we change the filtering over time. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's set that to looping. Forgive me if I don't talk through every step. I get a little bit lost in it doing these things. I'll try and glance over and see if anyone has any questions. It was this, wasn't it? Yeah. What's nice about this particular instrument is like the longer you hold a note, the more the filter opens. So you can do little short staccato notes like. There we go. Oh, jump the gun on that a bit. I'm a very much do it in post person, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Let's take that out. Move that back a bit. Let's keep that triplety thing going on. Missed my turn. There we go. Get that back. But it obviously has its downsides, not doing like an all-in-one perfect performance. So this is a bit of a weird thing going on right now. It's changing patterns quite a lot. So what I might do is make it a little bit more granular. Let's do some frequency separation. So. This is a little bit late. You know what? I think we can get enough mileage out of this little bit by doing effects to it. This needs more cowbell. Top reference. So a cool thing I like to do with the EQ actually, while I have you all here, is use signal generators to shape the frequency over time. And this can give a nice sort of random modulation to the sound. So if I take this little peak and I find it. If I drag that up a bit more, maybe you can hear it a little bit better when I do this and make it wider. You get this sort of interesting warpy effect. This sound is already quite warpy, so it might be a little bit hard to tell. What else should we add to this? Bit sharp, that note, but it's fine. Oops. This is very new to me, creating music live in this sort of scenario. Yeah, it's easier in groups of people, but you know, there's things you sort of do in the flow are a little bit harder like this. How about I loop it here? Let's see if that sounds sensible. We could get away with that, that's fine. Let's add some cool drums to it. Actually, bass next? Nah, let's go drums. Then we know if we have space left to add bass. Because bass is notoriously the hardest to fit in the frequency spectrum, because you can easily muddy up a track by going a bit too ham with it. I miss having jams with you and Bogdan. Me too. It's very nice jamming together. It's very cool. And can you make the modulation slower? Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's multiple ways to achieve this. I can do it like that. And over time, that change to the EQ will be subtle. So if you want to do long evolving sort of ambient tracks, that's a really good way of doing it. And obviously, it's not limited to a signal generator. You can just you could use any of the logic in your level to drive these things, which is like, it's truly groundbreaking of the engine. You just can't do that anywhere else. It's amazing, really. Lots of interesting little patterns going on I have to work with here. Again, I'm getting very lost in doing this. I love how advanced the Dreams Audio Creations tool. Me too. It's really hard for me to explain to people how groundbreaking these tools really are until you get your hands on them. But it's very exciting. Like I don't think we've reached what is possible with these tools yet. It's very groundbreaking. You know what? Let's have some watery sounds. It's been the theme of the whole thing. Maybe that could be here. Maybe we can add in some of these breaks. Yeah, why not? Tell you what, I programmed some breaks here earlier. Here's one I did earlier. You know what, let's just grab it. That in itself, that whole, the fact that I can go pick up an instrument from across the world there and drag it in is amazing to me. No idea how this is going to sound. I dig it. See, there was no menu diving with that. It was just straight to the point. I love it. Yeah, let's add some breaks. So if I nest this little breakbeat thing, now we can throw effect fields all over it and not affect the rest of the music. So it's a really good way to get quick variation. We do get some grains. Random glitch. There we go. The quantized gods are with you today. They mostly aren't. I mostly struggle for power with them. What else could we add to this here? Let's add some. Some here. Oh, okay. I like that on the Erika lead. So I've got a very like vertical style of producing here. Oh yeah, so let's nest that in here. Or nests, that's what this needs. So let's put that in the thing, put the thing in the thing. Where did I have it? I don't have that end bar. Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. So it has a bit of a glide. So it glides between the notes when you pitch it up like that. Or a fancy word being portamento. You know what? I show this sometimes, but I think it's super valuable to people that don't already know. If I put a microchip, oh, not a calculator, a microchip, here, just so we have something to work with. Sorry, I'll just catch up on these. Do you do audio streams often? I mean, I'm always happy to do more. It's just super fun doing this when you get into the flow. It's really cool having an audience because I feel like there's so many things I want to teach to people that I just otherwise wouldn't. So if I stick a randomizer here and have it trigger at the start of every loop. So that not gate is just a way of going, do this now. or like not do this technically. So I put that into randomize. I can make these be the sort of loop selector of each track. So let's say if the randomizer decides, you know what, I want to go on A, then we can turn on the drum kit, turn on, what's this one? Was this the breakbeat thing? Yeah. This, that one. Oh yeah, I have to default them to off for this to take effect. This will be the last thing I show. I realize I've been rambling on for a while. So hopefully we get B this time. And obviously you can do this with selectors and stuff. But say you're creating a track for your game and you want it to have more variants, you can add virtually unlimited number of these because you can just keep adding more to more. And add variants to music each time it randomizes. Which personally I find amazing because that's quite a complex thing reduced down to a very simple process. So say you're just wandering around your world you've created, one of these with a bunch of different clips all in the same key and everything, it's just instant variation, which I think is very cool. I'll leave this running, but I think I might call it here. This has been super fun. Thank you all for listening for the extended jam. If you have any questions, please let me know now. There's a bit of a stream delay, so it might take me a few seconds to see them. Will you record your chair? Yes, 100%. Oh no, I closed it. There we go, it's back. Cool. Oh, thank you all. That's, yeah, very glad you enjoyed it. It was super fun. And I honestly cannot wait to hear what everyone does with these instruments. Publish the song you just made. I might have to recreate it, but I'll do something with it, I'm sure. Thanks, Oli's Fridge. No, thank you, Oli's Fridge, for keeping Oli's food cold. It's very important. Glad we could finally hear you. Me too. Cool. Right, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to hear what you do with this. Cool. Bye.